Welcome to the Content Podcast, Conversations with Silicon Valley's Creatives. I'm Daniel Garcia, your host and the cultivator of Content Magazine, published by SV Creates.
Hi, this is Cathy.
Today we talk to Cathy Kimball. She's been the Executive Director and Chief Curator for the Institute of Contemporary Art in San Jose for the last 20 years. Hey, Cathy, how you doing? This is Daniel.
I'm good, thanks. How are you, Daniel?
I am doing great. Thank you for taking time to speak with me today.
Absolutely happy to do it.
Yeah, awesome. So, first of all, I just wanted to check in with you because it is public knowledge, right, that you're retiring or stepping down, or what's the proper term you want to use? Abandoning?
I am retiring. I think it's the Swan Song has a few more verses than I had initially anticipated just because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
But we are getting close to a replacement. Fortunately, that continues to move forward. So, yes, this by the end of the summer, anyway, there will be another ED in place at the ICA. I feel confident.
Yeah.
I have a big project that I've already raised $500,000 for, and will continue to raise money for, that I'm going to stay on as a, curator, project manager, whatever, the title doesn't really matter. But it's, in fact, you and I have talked about
it.
The big
the De.Coded
Human Atlas project. Yeah, De.Coded.
Yeah.
And that kind of takes me back to my curatorial roots and away from some of the administrivia of being an executive director. And as much as I have loved my job for the past 20 years, I'm kind of looking forward to that sort of deep dive focus that, you are not...
You're not in charge of the budget.
Right. But you just can't do it as an ED. You kind of dip into a lot of things and skim the surface, whereas, going deep is, I don't know, it'll be a treat.
Yeah, that's cool. That's good.
Yeah.
So, what was some of the reasons? You've been there for 20 years, is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, 20 years, and you guys are celebrating WTF.
Yeah,
we're turning 40. So
yes.
What was some of the reasonings for you to kind of decide to retire at this point?
Well, it was kind of the numbers, 20, 40, 2020. I mean, it just kind of was this beautiful thing that lined up, and all it needed was a bow. I also think there was some consternation and oh my God, let's hope Cathy never leaves. And, there was that sort of anxiety and me too, thinking, oh my God, how do I leave and when do I leave? And,
sure.
Will the organization be all right? I felt a little like the I Love Lucy episode where she doesn't want to send little Ricky to kindergarten, I was like, but at the same time, it's just the timing seemed perfect. Plus, my husband's been retired for 4 years now. He's working more than ever, quite frankly, because he has his own private practice. But
sure.
He's flexible. We can get on a plane. We can go visit our grandchildren someday when we can roam the earth again.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody is going to say, oh my God, I wonder what happened. It's
sure.
She's been there for 20 years. And honestly, it's time for new leadership, new energy, new ideas. It got a little weird to say, well, how long have you been there? God, I've been there 15 years. I've been there 17 and a half years. And now here I am oh my God, I've been there 20 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of incredulous.
Well, that's
really.
good. I mean, that's really smart. You're doing the Seinfeld method, right? When you end it when you're on top, rather than waiting for the decline and everybody is upset with you.
Yes, exactly. Instead of saying, oh my God, when is she leaving? They'd be saying, when the hell is she leaving?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
then, 20 years, what have you seen in kind of the art culture and the art scene of the South Bay over those 2 decades that is interesting to you or concerning? Let's do both, interesting and concerning.
Wow. The thing that I don't know if it's so interesting as it is hopeful. I don't know what this, what this current situation will bring on the other side. I'm very concerned about that.
Yeah, totally.
But up until this point, what I've been, so heartened by is that artists are staying in the area and figuring out a way to be creative and continue with their practice. A lot of them are finding a lucrative day job, whether it's on an installation crew or waiting tables or, whatever it might
A
be.
partner who works in
Accounting.
tech.
Right, exactly. But that's been encouraging up until this point. And just the sort of, there's so much activity. There's so many grassroots things that have been happening in the city, that I feel so good about. Like when I first came to the ICA, and God rest his soul, Jack Fisher, the columnist at the Mercury News, asked me, well, would you be concerned if another gallery opened up down the street? And I'm like, no, I wish that 20 of them would.
Right.
Because, that's what we need. And although there aren't 20, there is a lot of really good creative energy happening in downtown San Jose.
Yeah.
And the fact that 3 organizations on one block, our block and SOFA, all own their own buildings.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Is also, and it bodes well for the future, because that's facility stability that in this market, in this environment, is invaluable, really.
Yeah. Then then what would be on the kind of the flip side? There's the hopeful and the interesting and the positive. What's another thing that concerns you about the South Bay art scene?
Well, some of the same things. I am concerned about the cost of living, not just for the artists, but for the arts professionals. I worry about, attracting and retaining talent at the ICA.
Yeah.
Our budget is what our budget is, and it ain't going to get any better next year. Because,
So do you mean even in the sense of like finding great curators to be on staff and?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we are respectably competitive, but even so, nonprofit salaries are still tough to get by in this region. So I do worry about that. I don't think that's getting any better. And I do still think there is this kind of shadow mentality, or this peninsula envy, or whatever you want to say, that San Jose, I think that the creative community feels like, yep, we are our own identity, we are moving forward. But I do still think there's that little bit of like, San Jose gritty and funky, and those words to me are they're fine, but they don't tell the whole story. We have some world-class artists and organizations down here, and to just be known as gritty and funky and DIY, that does not tell the whole story. And I do think that that's sort of the pervasive perception, especially in comparison to San Francisco. And if you live on the peninsula, even though you're going to hit more traffic, crappier weather, really tough parking, everybody turns their car to the north.
Yeah.
So we still have, we still have some work to do. And the Convention and Visitors Bureau, now Team San Jose, or has been Team San Jose for a long time, they're really all about convention business. They are not a visitors, they're not promoting San Jose to the
building
Bay
experience.
Area. Right.
Yeah.
So we kind of need that sort of, I love Silicon Valley campaign.
Yeah.
Or I love San Jose.
Yeah. Cool. So let's start a little general, just, in the light of COVID-19. As you kind of look at the entire kind of industry of museums and galleries, what's some of the things that you see, that are transitioning and then would give you a little bit of concern, or just your thoughts on that, on a kind of a general as the whole industry, and then we'll look at ICA specifically.
Yeah. It's kind of hard. We're in the weeds still. So I don't know what the industry is going to look like when we come out of this.
Yeah.
I read every day that SF MoMA is making drastic cuts. MoMA in New York, there was just something today making drastic cuts.
Yeah.
The Met early on announced, and of course they've been in a bit of a world of financial hurt anyway, that they are making drastic cuts. Those organizations that rely on admission, ticket sales, event rentals, special fundraising events, excuse me, they are going to have a much harder time.
Sure. Yeah, because the ICA there's no charge for entry.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
So you're not doing a ticket price.
I can't provide any hardcore data as to money we are losing as a result of having our doors closed.
Sure.
Not yet.
Right.
I will be able to.
Right.
Because we're not going to be able to have the WTF party that we had planned. We will have something. Right. It will be virtual. Yeah. It will not be the major fundraiser that we had anticipated. Yeah. So, that revenue is out the window. And of course, our auction fundraiser, which really can represent up to 30% of our unrestricted earned income annually. I just have no idea at this point. I mean, we're throwing spaghetti up against the wall to try to figure out what that's going to look like in October.
And that's become the auction has become such a kind of like tradition for the ICA and for San Jose art scene. Yeah.
Yes. And, we've done it the same way for 39 years. So on the one hand, what better time to, throw it up in the air and reinvent it than the 40th? But on the other hand,
right. Maybe the 41st would have been better
Exactly. Yeah. So, those things do concern me. And of course, our budget, as well as all of the arts organizations in San Jose, get a nice, healthy grant from the Office of Cultural Affairs.
Yeah.
But that money is based on hotel occupancy tax. And we know that the hotels aren't being occupied. So those grants will be, severely cut next year.
Yeah.
So, the promising thing is that individuals are stepping up. Other foundations are stepping up and saying, we're going to make it really easy for you to apply this year. We're also going to invite you to ask for more. If you already have a grant that is dedicated to a specific project and you don't need to use it all for that project and you want to move some of it into just general operating, we're fine with that. So, there's just been a lot of really good, flexible, positive response from the foundation world, which is encouraging.
Yeah.
So then I just hope that the ones that I'm most worried about are, the performance spaces.
Yeah, because it's so much
the
based
theaters,
on ticket
the
sales.
Jazz, the cafe stritches of the world that, are the heart and soul of SOFA and yet, need people in the door to sustain the business.
Yeah. Now, what would you say then, how much of your, I'm just curious, I actually just don't know, but of your actual budget then? It's probably, it's giving, endowments, grants, and then how much actually would be for selling art? Is that makeup?
I don't even budget. Well, aside from the auction, because that's a whole other
that's
animal,
kind
right?
of a fundraiser.
Yeah. I don't budget for selling art. Now, there are some years where I might sell, I don't know, $60,000 worth. Now, we get 30% of that. The artists get 70.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's really, because I'm not out there pounding the pavement when anybody comes in, like, hey, you like it? You want to buy it? You want it? You want it? Sign here. Give me your check. That's not what we're about. But I'm happy to facilitate those sales when there's interest, because it's great for the artist. But because it's just so unpredictable, it's icing on the cake if it happens for us and for the artists.
Yeah. Okay.
It is also untapped revenue, and it is something that we've looked at to, again, not jump on somebody like somebody at a retail outlet might, but to make everybody aware of the fact that much of the work in the gallery on display is for sale. People just don't know that about organizations like the ICA. They just assume that, it's just an exhibiting space. But we get a lot of the work from galleries and directly from artist studios. So the work's available.
Yeah. Okay. Now, with COVID-19, what are some of the shifting that you've done with the ICA?
Well, we've been closed.
Yeah.
Let's start there.
Sure.
Considering
you've been closed for visit, but you haven't been closed down.
We haven't been off the grid.
There's things going on.
Yes, there are. Yes. I mean, the pivot has been really interesting. And I have to say, like, my team is absolutely amazing. On days when I'm like, oh God, this is just beyond me.
Right.
They are, hey, I got an idea. What if we do this? And I think we should do that. And I love this. And I just started this. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. It's kind of like, follow me. I'm right behind you, because I was like supposed to be the leader, and they're just like taking off in front of me, which is great. So yeah, we're closed, and the heart and soul of our organization is to gather people together and to have conversations and to, talk about all sorts of things, art, the subject matter of the art, whatever it might be. So that's hard not to be able to do. And of course, we, unlike some other nonprofit organizations, not presenting organizations, like, we need those four walls. We can't be totally virtual. Right. It just doesn't.
It's a different experience.
Really work. It's a different experience.
Yeah.
However, that said, we have a pretty robust online, presence.
Yeah.
We're playing bingo every week with Phil Maresca,
yeah.
which has been fun. I mean, we've had up to 91 people in the room.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. I'll have to admit on that, though, just put a pause on there and we'll come back. But for what I love about the ICA is I feel like it's really accessible, and I feel like I can go in there and I don't have to feel like a stuffy gallery and can interact and stuff. The bingo, I think, is a great idea. But then when I see it says art bingo, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able, I'm going to go and I'm not going to know if it's Picasso or Monet or Tony May, So, oh my gosh.
Let me just start by saying the likelihood is it would be a Tony May, because we're only showing ICA art.
Yeah.
And we've never had a Picasso or a Monet in the building since I've been there anyway. But we tell you the answer. Unlike the 80s music one, where I'm feeling, even though, I was an adult in the 80s, I had two little kids, so I think I just slept through the whole decade.
Yeah.
But Phil doesn't tell you the answer. You have to know.
Sure.
We do. We show the work, and then we give the artist's name.
Okay.
So if it's on your card, you'll have as much a chance to win as anybody else. The only advantage is when you get to that final fifth X.
Right. If you guess it before.
If you know the artist before the name comes up, you get bingo before somebody else. That's the only advantage.
Well, that's good. That means I'm actually then going to do the bingo. I was just nervous I was going to sit there and completely lose. Not that winning is the most important thing to me.
Yeah, I don't know, Daniel. I think you just kind of gave yourself up on that one.
Exactly. Okay, good. So, all right. So then back to the transitions that you've made with, so you've implemented kind of like the bingo, and what else? What's some other things you've been doing?
Well, again, thanks to Phil's sort of outside the box thinking about this, literally outside the walls.
Yeah.
We are definitely keeping our dates on the calendar. So WTF, the party in the park, at
Yeah.
least now
Yeah.
the dinner and all that, that's not happening.
Yeah.
But the party in the park will happen online on June
Sure.
20th. We've
Yeah.
had that date out there, June 20, 2020,
Yeah. It's
that's
perfect.
out there.
Yeah.
And so we will be getting artists to participate, either do a workshop or, even show a former video and talk about it.
Yeah.
And just have some fun other kinds of activities during that 2 or 3 hour time frame that we will be online and just presenting stuff.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we've been doing, Instagram stories, our weekly email, lots of Facebook posts. I mean, I personally have been, although I've skipped a couple of days, but mostly doing posts on my Facebook and then tagging the ICA for an artwork a day. So I'm highlighting the works that I've collected over the years, mostly from Bay Area artists. So I'm promoting them as well as just showing something pretty instead of a post about the hellacious world around us.
Right. Sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, we're staying very, very active.
Good. Now, what about then for you, just personally? Cathy, the person, not the director of the ICA, and what have you been doing, and what's kind of like been your experience of the shelter in, and what are you doing to care for yourself in this process?
Yeah, good question. I always found that on the few days that I would work from home, I would get so much more done than if I went into just really much more efficient, productive, et cetera, et cetera. And, I would always commit, I'm going to do this one day a week, and then it'd be a month, and then I'd do something from home just because stuff happens. Once you're doing that every single day, it gets old.
Yeah.
And just sitting in front of a computer screen all day is catches up with you, know? So I've tried to stay in a bit of a routine. I will say I'm mostly in sweats, but that's because I work out in the morning and then I take a long walk with the dog in the afternoon.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to get in several miles a day. So there's really, I know some people I get up, I take a shower, I put on makeup, I get dressed like I'm going to work. I'm like, no point to that. Waste of time.
Right, exactly. You're going to lose 20, 30 minutes to an hour of productivity.
And then I'm going to go out and run or walk the dog, and I've got to do it all over again. So what really is the point? So, yes, I have to admit, true confessions to mostly wearing sweats, but for a good reason. So I do make sure that I get up and I get out and do things. I have been trying to stay in touch with some of my my donors from the ICA, but also with my friends. So we have happy hour like everybody. And what's really kind of crazy is that why weren't we doing this long ago and far away? Everybody's done FaceTime forever. Why didn't we think to do that with friends who moved away? Now we are. We're doing it more with family on the East Coast. We'd have phone calls, but we wouldn't there is something about this that makes you go, wow, we should Zoom. So we are actually having a lot of, and there's some times when it's like, hey, do you guys want to get takeout and have dinner together, via Zoom? It's like, oh, geez, no, I got another Zoom, and I got, I can't do it till Thursday.
Oh, I have to wear something other than sweats today. Yeah.
Right. Well, only from the waist up, really, right?
Yeah. Cathy's in that shirt again?
I know.
How long can you wear a Nirvana shirt? Yeah. Actually, you'd probably have an Ella Fitzgerald shirt, right?
No.
No?
No. I am thinking I was going to sing at the WTF.
Oh,
so
really?
I'm trying. Yeah. Jeremy Harris was going to be my accompanist. And I was going to sing the Nina Simone version of Feeling Good.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, because really, at the very end, it's something like freedom is, something about freedom is mine and I'm feeling good.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
kind of like my exit song.
Well, do you sing
So I might do it.
You sing regularly, or because I know like in your bio it says that
I wanted to be Ella Fitzgerald.
So and I mean, do you feel comfortable singing publicly? I mean, could you sing a little something for us right now?
No.
Yeah.
No. But I am going to talk to Jeremy about the possibility how we could coordinate for me to do it at the WTF.
That would be awesome.
Because it'd be fun. I did it at Rotary a couple of years ago, and it seemed to go really super well. So
good reviews?
I've sung at Rotary a few times. I've sung at Stritch a couple times. Just,
oh, wow. I didn't know that.
For occasions.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's fun.
What would you say? What would you compare your voice to? Who would you compare your voice to?
Well, it's the things I like, right?
Sure.
So I love Nina Simone.
Yeah.
I love Ella.
Yeah.
Those are the songs that I'm sort of drawn to.
Yeah.
I love Pink Martini. Anything on Pink Martini I love, but geez, they're, I would never even begin to say that I sound like any of them.
Yeah.
But, so that's the genre that I sort of lean towards. And I am the daughter of two music majors. So I played the violin from 4th grade through college, and then I played in the Northern Westchester Symphony Orchestra for a couple of years after I graduated. So, I guess I have a little of it in my DNA.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So then, as far as like curating, let's talk a little bit about curating, being the chief curator and curating for the ICA, and that's always fascinating me. How do you find artists, and how do you put together kind of like a show and discover, especially if it's contemporary art? What's some of the things that you troll and investigate, that other people might want to do too, that to kind of like curate and put those together?
Yeah. So it's evolved quite a bit over the years, as you might well imagine. Like really 20 years ago, they hired me because I was a curator, not because I knew anything about being an executive director, which I didn't. And I made that perfectly clear to the hiring committee. Like, everything on the list. Well, I've never done that. That's okay. You could do it. Well, I know nothing about this. That's okay. You'll learn.
Yeah.
But what I did know was curating. And so I already knew a lot of artists from having been a curator at the San Jose Museum for 4 years, and of course for many years before that on the East Coast.
Yeah.
But
you were at was it Whitney?
I wasn't at the Whitney on the East Coast, but I was the San Jose Museum's co-curator on the Whitney collaborations that they did. That's what I was hired to do when I came out here in '95.
Okay.
So when I first got to the ICA, it was just me as the curator, and it was, coming up with themes for shows and then going out and looking for artists who, were working in that subject matter, in that medium, and that theme, whatever it might be. Trying to be somewhat relevant.
Sure. Contemporary.
Yes, right. Perhaps even, the word provocative is maybe a little harsh, but very, thought-provoking, that make people think. Some of which, yes, I would hang over my couch. Much of which, no, I would not hang over my couch. But that, being a curator is telling a story with visuals rather than with words.
Sure.
So it really is about like putting together a narrative. And sometimes the works that you like the best end up being the ones that you have to edit because it's like, I started with this, but then this whole idea has evolved, and now I can't justify including this in the story that I'm trying to tell, right?
Sure.
So it's just like an editor. So, what we had to do was put together an exhibition schedule, because there was only like, I don't know, one or two exhibitions, planned when I got to the ICA. Now we are booked out, oh God, well through 2022 and into 2023.
Wow.
And we have many more spaces than we had, across the street years ago before we bought our building.
Yeah.
So artists come to us, obviously.
So do you discover a lot of stuff that's kind of being pitched to you then, and kind of through the network of other galleries? Is that kind of the main?
Yeah, it's more like through the network.
Sure.
People, and even now, like, again, back in the day, 10 years ago, I was getting artist packets, with slides and
Right. Yeah.
with, paper and resume and all that stuff. You don't get that anymore. You get a bunch of online stuff, and that's fine, but it's also, it's sort of overwhelming. So,
yeah.
Getting above the noise, I understand, is incredibly difficult for an artist.
Sure.
Because so much comes into your inbox, and especially when you are booked out as far as we are, it's kind of like, you know what, I got nothing for you now, dude. Sorry.
Yeah.
But it's more like, like when I go to art fairs and I see certain similarities or certain themes or certain materials or subject matter over and over, it makes me think, oh, that might be a good idea for a show,
Yeah.
So then I start looking more locally for artists, and then some artists who are working nationally or internationally. We've been lucky enough to be able to raise some money and include those artists as well in more recent years.
Yeah.
It's looking, it's being out there,
Yeah.
looking. I do definitely rely on colleagues who I respect, who come to me with some ideas. And then there are artists that I've known forever, like Alan Rath.
Yeah.
I included him in a show in New Jersey in 1993.
Oh, wow.
We only just did a solo show of Alan Rath in 2019.
Yeah.
So, I've known him. I've loved his work.
Yeah.
And yet it took that long for us to put together what I think was, a high point of my career.
Yeah, an incredible show. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exhibit. Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say? So Alan Rath has been one of the high points. Is there anything else that you think about your 20-year time that, wow, this was really exciting, cool, and I'm really proud of that. And, I really like what I did there.
Yeah. There are a lot of them. I mean, it's really hard to choose, but some of the ones that really stick with me, Tony May, the show we did of Tony May's in 2010.
Yeah.
He was so deserving of a show. And I have to say that when the director of the San Jose Museum at the time came down to see it, Susan Crane, I think there was a little bit of envy in her eyes, like, dang, we should have done this.
Yeah.
Because it was so darn good.
Yeah,
and
it was incredible.
the pièce de résistance in that show was a piece from their collection that had not been shown for decades.
Oh,
so, that felt good to get that out of its mothballs and up for everybody to see again. Yeah. And it has since been exhibited at the museum, thankfully. Starting the Sandbox projects, which are site-specific installations where we commission artists to create a work, an immersive environment in one of our galleries. That has been so much fun to find the artists and realize and enable them to create something new, to break away from their usual practice, to innovate and to experiment. Of course, these are artists that I trust and feel confident will create something really magical. And that has been incredibly rewarding to be able to provide them with that opportunity. installation art is not a commodity. We're not going to sell a whole room
Sure, totally.
to anybody, including a museum, most likely. And, commercial galleries are reluctant to exhibit installation art because it is not a commodity.
Yeah.
And they're very difficult even for museums to collect because of either their
storage.
ephemerality or the storage, right?
Yeah.
So it's a niche that we've been able to fill, and an opportunity for artists. I mean, we end up, when we put out those calls for submissions, we get over 100.
Yeah.
I mean, it's overwhelming, the appetite by artists to have that kind of opportunity. So that's been
great.
really great.
So let's talk about the Marcus Lyon De.Coded project. I'm super I was excited that one day when I came by to see you and he was actually there and saw the book. And I'm excited that you got the funding for it and it's happening as a photographer and somebody who, is into people. So tell me about this this exhibit. How long is it going to take? When is it happening? And all those kind of things.
Yep. So I'll back up for everybody who's listening and has no idea what we're talking about.
Right.
I met Marcus Lyon several years ago at a photography portfolio review that I do every other year in Houston called Photo Fest. Another place I find a ton of artists, by the way. And, I had met him years before and then re-met, saw him again. And he explained this project to me that sounded interesting, but I really didn't understand what he was talking about until he came back the next, 2 years later with a book. And then it made sense to me. So Marcus is a London-based photographer. His commercial practice has been super successful. He has photographed all of the royal family, the prime ministers, CEOs of prestigious companies. But this is really his social practice. And it started in Brazil. He married a Brazilian woman, and he has what he calls 2 Brazenglish children that he that he sort of wanted to say, like, what have we made here? Who are these little people?
Right.
And so he went to Brazil and did this project that he ultimately called a human atlas. And through a really kind of elegant but somewhat complicated nomination process, he got 100. Well, he actually got like 300 nominations, and he called it to 100 people in Brazil who are, making an impact in their own way, in their own sector, in their own community, whether it be, a garbage collector who runs a little league, team, or whatever it might be, or it could be, a VC in Silicon Valley. So he did this Human Atlas project. So he, scheduled these people. He took their photograph. He recorded a bit of their oral history. So, not unlike what we're doing here, he, asked them some questions, and they answered their kind of little brief bio of their life. And he recorded that, and he took a sample of their DNA.
Yeah.
And then traced that to say, this country is made up of people who have come from many other places in the world.
Yeah.
And once I understood what the project was about, I really wanted to do it here. I didn't want to bring the Brazil project here. I mean, worthy, great place, whatever.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do a human atlas of Silicon Valley.
Yeah, I think it's great.
And so it's big, it's complicated, it's expensive, but I am honored to be able to partner with the Packard Foundation, who is as excited about this project as I am, and as the ICA is. And also American Leadership Forum, who is going to help us with the nomination process. So they just actually yesterday put out an email to all of the 700 plus fellows soliciting nominations for, people who are moving the dial in their communities. And really what I think will result, because of the timing of this request for nominees, is we're going to see some of the frontline people who have stepped up in the past 7 or 8 weeks. Maybe it's going to be the entire crew of a Trader Joe's.
Right.
Or,
sure.
The emergency room employees at, wherever.
Yeah.
Valley Med. So it'll be interesting because I think it will be a bit different. And again, when I first started this, I thought, Brazil might be interesting to some people. He's done it now in Detroit and in Germany. I'm sure those places are interesting. But Silicon Valley has captured the imagination of everyone on this planet.
Yeah.
And now that everyone on this planet has been in some form of isolation or certainly affected
Zooming,
by
which is right
COVID,
from here.
COVID-19, then the universality of this project coming from here, I think, is even greater. Yeah. So my hope is that not only will we be able to have an exhibition here in San Jose at the ICA, as well as these portraits being kind of dispersed throughout Silicon Valley, throughout the entire region.
Are you guys going to do the book as well?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Great. Yeah.
And my hope is that the exhibition will travel. So with the book and with the photos, with all of the images, there is also an image activating app. Not sure that's the right term, but there's an app, and you download it on your phone, and you show, you point your phone to the image, and then you can hear that person speak. So these portraits will, they won't be static. They will kind of come to life, and you'll have some kind of, not interaction, but a little bit more intimacy with the people who have been portrayed in these portraits throughout the exhibition.
It'll be great. I mean, you'll be able to see them, and then you'll be able to hear them, and then you'll be able to even look at their ethnic journey, if you will. Right?
Exactly.
So it's pretty,
And that's the other
great.
thing, like the DNA part of it, aside from, being so Silicon Valley, it also really does help to break down that nationalistic rhetoric that has kind of risen to the top of our national dialogue. We are not all the same. We are not all from the same place. There is no superior race. There is no one, better than anyone else.
So one last question for you. What is your kind of like personal mission or purpose that you've kind of solidified? Now that you're going to retirement, it's going to completely change. But what has been, or what is, and what is going to keep you going into retirement, would you say?
Doing the work that I do, my personal and my professional life, there's really like so little distinction.
Sure.
The people who support the ICA, the artists who I exhibit, they're my friends.
Yeah. That's great.
They aren't just my colleagues. They aren't just my donors. I don't. It's not like that. I'm so integrated into this community, like never a community I've never had this kind of experience before, and I'm just so grateful that it was my husband's job that got us out here, and I left a job I loved and kind of dragged my feet and kind of kicked and screamed that I was a New Yorker, and someday the weather's great, but I'm going back. And now I just can't ever imagine, going back. So it's been an incredibly rewarding experience to land 3,000 miles away from anything I ever knew for the better part of my life. And to have been so accepted into this community. And I love what I do, and I cherish my friendships. I am really big on being a loyal and hopefully good friend. I mean, I try really hard to stay in touch with people. And then, of course, now it's along with De.Coded, which I'm super excited about. I can't just walk off into the sunset, I must say. And who knows what other
definitely
projects.
Be a crossfade. Yeah.
Right. And other projects might come along. I'm definitely not going to even pursue or have a conversation about being an ED or doing a full-time this or that. I'm done with that,
Yeah.
But there will be other projects. But I have these two absolutely precious granddaughters, and they're not getting any younger. And the good news is I'm a young enough grandmother that I can have a really good time with them. And
that's great.
My kids lost all of their grandparents very early, and I really want to be a part of their lives. So that's kind of where I am at right now, and they run around this house and they know, like, don't touch that and watch out for that.
Right. Yeah.
Don't get near that painting and don't touch that sculpture. I mean, they already know that, and they're 4 and 3,
Yeah.
And they come to the ICA, and they, so
they're developing the next generation of curators.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, that's when I heard about your retirement. Those were the things that came to my mind of just like your commitment to the community, your connection. You know what I mean? It's so great to be here in the South Bay and have so many people where it's not just their work, right? They're a part of it. Like you were saying, your donors and the artists and the people you work with and around, and we can be friends, and that's really great.
Yeah,
so I'm glad you're not going to be completely gone.
No way.
And we'll see you. And I'm super excited about De.Coded.
Yeah.
What's the full
Stay
name?
Tuned.
De.Coded.
De.Coded, a human atlas of Silicon Valley.
There we go. Awesome. Good. Well, thank you very much for taking time to talk. Thank you for your 20 years, and then it'll be 20 plus with your kind of crossfade into retirement. So I really appreciate you, Cathy, and thank you so much for your time.
Daniel, thank you. It's been a pleasure. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. We'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Okay. Bye. Find out more about the Institute of Contemporary Arts programs and exhibits on their website at sjica.org, and also follow them on Instagram at San Jose ICA. In addition to publishing Content Magazine, SV Creates also provides tools and resources for artists and arts organizations. From time to time, we'll be checking in with Alyssa to find out what's going on. Hey, Alyssa, how you doing?
Hey, Daniel. I wanted to tell you about a free webinar we're offering on June 9th at 10 a.m. called Scenario Building and Contingency Planning. We're offering this in collaboration with Fiscal Management Associates and presenter Roxanne Hansen. Roxanne will give us scenario building tools to help make adjustments to our strategic plans and budgets. For more information and links to register, go to our website at svcreates.org.
Thank you for listening to the Content Podcast. Follow us on social media at Content Mag and subscribe at content-magazine.com. This episode's music is by Sakura. You can follow her on Instagram.